We're not done with title games. Let's hop on the old plane. We'll put our mask on, head over to Indianapolis. That's where our Dennis Dodd getting set for the Big Ten title game between Michigan and Iowa. The Wolverines, of course, coming off that big win over Ohio State in the game last week at the Big House. Good to see you, Dennis. The Wolverines in their first ever Big Ten championship game and seeking their first outright title since 2003. What's the mood of this Harbaugh team ahead of this one?
Been walking around the city a lot, and a lot of Go Blues here in Indianapolis. Still early on a Friday. The Fan Fest hasn't geared up yet, but it will be going in full force at Lucas Oil here tonight and tomorrow. So I think, look, for Michigan to not win this game, this has to go completely against form for both teams. Iowa is 123rd in total offense in the country. Only two Power 5 teams are worse. They don't turn the ball over, though. I should say Michigan doesn't turn the ball over. Only 9 times this season, only 4 lost fumbles all season. So something has to change there. And for Iowa to have a chance, they've got to run the ball, hold on to the ball, and do things that are nonconformist. In other words, get a punt return, get a pick six. They're 19th in kickoff returns. Michigan, I think the only question about Michigan now as an 11-point favorite is, are their heads in it? And I know that sounds weird playing for the Big Ten title, but that win at Michigan last week was so big and so emotionally draining. You wonder a little bit if there's going to be a little bit of a distraction, because Iowa on paper and in reality should be less of a challenge than Ohio State was. They were 6.5-point dogs at home. Michigan is 11-point favorites here in the neutral site at Lucas Oil.
Well, that's the thing, and Michigan fans are worried about them perhaps playing down to the opposition. All due respect to Iowa coming into this game, but they are not Ohio State. And as you mentioned, Michigan double-digit favorites. It's now up to 11 from 10.5. Looking to avoid that letdown. They ran all over Ohio State last week, but you wonder, was that lightning in a bottle, or is this something that's going to continue? What are the keys to getting a win here for Michigan for you?
I think they have to keep going with Hassan Haskins. He was amazing last week. 5 touchdowns against Ohio State in the snow. I don't think they have to pass much. Cade McNamara, by the way, the quarterback, has gone beyond a game manager. 284 dropbacks this season, only 3 interceptions. I think Iowa wants to make Cade McNamara a passer, but I don't think he's going to have to beat a passer to beat Iowa. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think Michigan's going to win unless Iowa picks out those hidden points. They have 4 non-offensive touchdowns this season. That's tied for 3rd in the entire country. Only a few teams are better.
Iowa, they lost their only appearance in the Big Ten championship game to Michigan State in 2015. They're seeking to win their first outright Big Ten title since 1985. When you look at it, Dennis, you mentioned the fact that they need to make some special plays here. They need to take advantage of big plays. Is that their only pathway to victory in this game for you?
I think so. They've got to create special possessions. They got to find hidden points. I don't think you can rely on Stanley Petrus. He was just named starter, or at least appeared on the depth chart today as the starter over Alex Padilla. Alex Padilla started that Nebraska game. They were down Iowa 14-6 at halftime. Petrus came in. They were down 21-6. In the third quarter, ended up winning 28-21. But remember how this happened. They blocked a punt, ran it in for a touchdown, and made plays defensively to create possessions in the second half against Nebraska. I think that's what has to happen against Michigan, unless Michigan comes out sluggish, which I don't think they will in this, this seminal time for them. Again, the last outright title was 2003. But think about the longing on Iowa's side. Nobody's talking about Iowa nationally, in this city, in this game, about them even winning this game. It's like, okay, Michigan wins, and where do they slot in the top 4? If Iowa wins this game, guys, the Big Ten's out of the playoff, for lack of a better term. Even if Alabama wins that game, that takes up 2 spots in the SEC. And if Georgia's already in it, they're grandfathered in. There's nothing Georgia can do tomorrow to get themselves out of the top 4. The question is, will the Big Ten be left out of the playoff for the first time since 2018?
Dennis Dodd channeling his inner Chip Patterson, hoping for a little chaos. Last time the Hawkeyes shared a Big Ten title was in 2004. They did so with Michigan. So, Dennis, with all that being said, you look at the points, you look at the over-under. How do you see this game playing out?
I think it'll be a time of possession game. These teams are 3rd and 4th in time of possession in the Big Ten. Michigan holds it better than Iowa. You saw what they did last week against Ohio State. I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Hassan Haskins. We're going to have a little bit of Blake Corum still coming off that foot. He had that big 55-yard run last week in the second half that broke open the game. And I think you just see a mix. Josh Gaddis, the offensive coordinator at Michigan, has found his way. The former assistant at Alabama, Cade McNamara, again, I'll say it again, has gone from game manager to game influence, if I can use that term. Few big plays, lots of play action. I think what Iowa has to do is, I turned to Dane Clavin, our field producer, yesterday in the press box, or last week in the press box, and I said, watch this. Michigan is setting up Ohio State with all these handoffs, and sure enough, you saw that flea flicker that went for a big gain. There was an end around that went for a touchdown to A.J. Henning. They're going to try to lull Iowa to sleep and then hit with the big play action or a gadget play, and that might be enough considering the number.
Well, let's hope it's a good game. He is CBS Sports senior college football writer Dennis Dodd in Indianapolis. Dennis, great to see you out on the road ahead of that Big Ten championship game between Michigan and Iowa on Saturday.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.